Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Recruit and Retain Rapidly podcast. I'm joined today by my co-host Deidre, as I will be every time we do the podcast. My name is Jody Underhill, and we're going to share exactly what you should be doing in hiring and recruiting today, because it has changed. The game has changed completely. And there's some things that you need to be aware of so that you can have the best chance at finding those A players that we know that you're looking for. After we look at this a little bit, we're going to tell you why are we here? Why are you talking to me? Why is Deidre talking? That's what I always want to know. Not
I have something important to say.
but we'll let her talk in a minute. So the real thing is, what most people want to know is like, okay, podcast, why, what makes you so special? Well, to begin with, we're not special, but we do happen to be subject matter experts when it comes to recruiting and hiring and retention. And that's what the whole purpose of this whole thing is we're going to be sharing those tips. And as we go, we're going to be bringing guests on that have been successful in using different processes, and also have some other people that can help you understand more about culture and those kind of things in your business. So I'm going to let Deidre go ahead and tell you a little bit about her background. She's been with our company for several years now. She is the Chief Operating Officer of the Rapid Hire Pro company. And she runs the whole show. So I'm going to go ahead and let her tell you about her background, and I'll come back in and tell you why I'm the guy talking to begin with.
So a little bit about just me and what I've done in the past is my majority of my background has been in working with education. So I've taught at a bunch of schools. I've led teachers across, the nation. I've actually worked in several different states, but the other portion of that has been in sales and marketing. And also it's been in, public relations, a lot to do with interaction with people. My specialty that I've done a lot of research in education, my background is in behavioral analysis of the human thought process, mainly with children, but it still correlates into the big people. Because I tell everybody all the time, I feel like adults are just large children who are tired of pretending that everything's okay in the world. But it's the same kind of concepts of, and we're going to dive into it more when we start talking about our processes. But you want to look at, when looking at your candidates and understanding their behavioral and things like that. So that's the things that I bring to the table, is understanding people.
Right. And what I tell people as far as my background is, I was an executive with a Fortune 250 company for about 26 years. It's funny, people go, oh, it's too bad you weren't with a Fortune 500 company. I'm like, the number's littler, but the company's bigger. But in any case, I got tired of doing that in my mid 40s and started a marketing agency. And how that translates over to recruiting is, I'm not a recruiter. None of us are recruiters. We are marketers. Like I said, we do behavioral analysis. We kind of look at trends. We look at things that are happening and make processes to make sure that we get the best out of those. So in my marketing career, I started a marketing agency back in 2009. Got very successful very quickly. Spoken on stages around the country. I've run some of the largest digital marketing coaching programs on the planet. And about probably 3 years ago, we took it and trying to flip it on its ear and started doing recruiting in the trucking industry to begin with. And about 2 years ago, we shifted gears and moved over to the home services. And the reason we did that wasn't because we were going to make the shift and go do that. We happen to have a friend who has a very large home service company. And my wife, Vanessa, who basically is the other part that runs this business, she reached out and said, hey, if you need people, you should check out what we're doing. And it was just a matter of, we're going to just show you what to do. And they're like, hey, come out here. I want you to do this for us. And that has grown from that to working with over 150 plus home service companies across the US and Canada, because things have changed and we do things that are very different than what most people are doing today. So like I said, my background is not in recruiting, it's in marketing. So what we're actually doing is marketing for candidates for your business, for your company, instead of marketing for customers. We could do that too, but we'd really just rather focus on this because it's really the biggest need right now. There's 100 other companies out there trying to help you with getting customers. There's very few that are trying to help you to fill those vans and keep them on the road. So what we're going to be looking at is like thinking about the things that have changed, because it is a different environment now than it was even, 4 or 5 years ago. It has really become an employee's market, and they have choices now. And the thing is that you have to be in a position that they not only can see that you're a choice, but also in how you communicate with them, because so much has changed. I mean, look at, we got smartphones, we have social media. the political climate has changed. And I mean, we had COVID, we had different things that have impacted that. And so what we've had to do is put processes in place in order to make it streamlined for not only the candidate, but also for our clients, for you, the home service company owners. So we're going to go deep into like three different topics here. The first is we're going to look at why it's sort of this time is the end of resumes. They're not really a necessity anymore. We'll show you why. Also, I know a lot of our customers, when we talk to them, one of the biggest things they spend time on is, Deidre's nodding her head.
Oh my gosh, pre-screen calls. Stop doing that. Why are you wasting your time? We're going to tell you why. Stop doing that.
And the other thing is that most people tell us are so excited about being able to stop, and that's stop chasing unqualified candidates. I mean, people tell us again and again, yeah, I went through all this stuff, got to the end of it, and boom, they weren't even qualified to do the job. And you spent all that time, effort, and energy chasing them. So we're going to go deep into those things. And these are things, this isn't about, hey, you need us to do this for you. This is things that you can do yourself. And that's everything we're going to do in this. We're going to frame it that way, telling you exactly the things that you can do. I do that same thing whenever I do recommendation calls with customers. I share everything. I show everything that we do because we want to help everybody, even if they don't become our client. Right, Deidre?
100%.
Right. So the end of resumes, let's kind of dig into that for just a second.
Yeah. So I know a lot of people out there, you're switching to an online application. No one is doing the paper applications anymore. I mean, the day of going into a company, the office, going into the lobby, asking for an application to fill out, sitting down in the lobby, filling it out, handwritten, and then turning it in, that's gone. That's no longer a thing. People are applying online. They're going to your website. They're going to a landing page, but most of them are doing it on this fun device right here. Nobody is doing it anymore on their computers. Nobody's going and saying, let me sit down with my laptop and apply for a couple companies. So you want to make it friendly for the person who's out there right now applying for you. And if you make it an obstacle for them, they're not going to turn anything in. They're never going to get them. You're never going to know about them because they're not going to get it to you, because I don't know how to upload my resume at all. Like, could not figure out how to get a PDF. And I'm a tech savvy person, but having a PDF of a resume on my phone is not a thing. It's not, and you're going to hear me say that a lot. I'm sorry. I realize that's my term. I've coined it. I'm going to put it in a dictionary somewhere beside my name, Deidre, nothing. But they're not submitting those resumes because you've put an impossible obstacle in front of them. You've made it more difficult for them.
Not only is it difficult, I mean, come on, how many technicians, installers have a resume sitting around ready to upload anyway? You know, they would have to create it. When I do this talk, I talk about why your job application page is sending people to your competitors, is because the majority of them have that thing where it's upload a resume. It's a required field. I mean, if you are going to put it on there, don't make it required. Make it if available. It'll increase the number of people that you have, because how many people are going there and then leaving because they don't have a resume and you're requiring it. So you know, that's part of it, is because really when you look at this, I mean, when you're marketing for customers, you have a sales funnel. People are like, no, we don't. Everybody has a sales funnel. I mean, how do you get your phone to ring? No matter how you go about getting that to happen, it's your sales funnel, whether it's Valpak or a money mailer or pay-per-click ads or social media ads, you know, some way or shape or form, that is a sales funnel, and you have them coming in to give you their information. Well, we have the same thing whenever it comes to recruiting, is it's an application funnel, because what we want to do is get them to that application page, but we want it to be a standalone page that they can't do anything but fill that out. Most companies' application page is on their website, and they can click the About Us or the service areas. There's too many things for them to click on and they can get lost. So have the application page as a standalone page. It's very easy to do. And then on that application page, ask them the questions that they're probably not going to tell you on the resume anyway. You know, ask them about their driving record, right? They're going to be driving your company vehicles. You might as well find out if they had a excessive speed ticket or reckless driving or anything like that, so that there's something that would make them uninsurable. Ask them about their criminal record. They're not going to provide that on a resume, but they will when you ask them those questions. If you know HVAC technicians, they have to have an EPA number. What is that EPA number? If you got it, you should put it on there.
Right.
Using that, but then making the resume, so if they do have it, so they can get it. But come on, would you rather have to go read 7 or 8 different resumes that are formatted completely differently in different places, or have a systematic approach so that when you have them fill that application out, it always reads the same? You go to exactly where the information is that you need. So we call that a smart application. And it's a smart application because it's allowing them to, you're meeting them where they're at and allowing them to give you the information. Also, like Deidre said, what are they doing? They're filling it out on one of these. You need to make it very mobile friendly, very fill in the blank, and drop down menus so they can drop down and make selections. Because the less you have them type, typically, the more conversions you are going to get. So that's why we say the end of resumes. We don't make it so they can't upload them, but we do make it so that, and you should make it so that if they have it, they can upload it. If they don't, that doesn't stop them from being able to complete the process. Because you got to have a lead, you got to have that application to get to the next step, which is seeing if they are qualified to do the job. So
Right.
what is the main way that most people do qualifications these days?
I
It's
swear, everybody's doing it. It's a pre-screen call.
hello, yes. Oh, first of all,
Hey, I totally know that answer. And yes, I am that person. And yes, I have all those things. They're gonna give you and say those things to you on the phone. One, first of all, before we even go into that, my biggest pet peeve of this is you're wasting your time. I don't understand. Like everybody is constantly talking about how much like the recruiting process takes so long. I have to constantly chase them down. I'm having to call and leave a voicemail. I got to call back the next day and they're not picking up and they're not answering. Skip that part. Why are we doing it? Your time is needed spent in 800 other things within your company. Chasing your candidate down to do that pre-screen call, it should not be one of those things. We should be utilizing other tools to get the answers to the questions that you're going to ask on that phone conversation.
because like I said, the first thing you got to do is get them on the phone, which can
Right.
be almost an impossibility sometimes. Because I mean, how many times do you answer the phone when it rings from a number that you don't recognize? You got to
Yep.
have consistency. But if they have been being communicated with through automation, through a phone number, and then that rings from that number, the chances of them answering then are going to be much higher, no matter in that process. But we're saying don't even worry about that. You don't even need to call them yet. What you want to do is, said people are like, well, with the employees market, people won't jump through hoops. No, they won't. We're not pushing people through the process. We're pulling people through the process.
Yeah.
You should do the same thing. You should use pull marketing, not push marketing. Because when you're pulling people through, you're encouraging them to take the step. You're not demanding they take the step. So the first thing we do once the application comes in, the next thing you should do is have them do a skills assessment. Now, it's not going to be about sweating a fitting on or troubleshooting a clogged drain. It's going to be a skills assessment of how they handle situations that they come across in the field. Whether it's a field personnel, whether it's an in-office, whether it's management, there are different skills assessments that you can utilize in order to understand their decision-making process. Is it somebody who's going to be a match for the way that you manage your employees? Are they going to be the type of person that when they come across an obstacle that they're going to check to make sure they're doing it right, or the kind of person that's going to go on YouTube and try to muddle their way through it? You want to know what you're dealing with there. So those skills assessment give you that first step. Feel like, oh, it's too hard to do that. You're right. But what do we do with the skills assessment? We make it easy, right? They click a
Yeah.
link. They don't have to type a bunch of stuff in. They read a question. And what kind of choices do they have, Deidre?
They're easy choices. So let me tell you this, just so to piggyback on what you're talking about. So I did some research on, I'm a numbers person. I love my numbers. I like math, like I like class. It's a joke. Anyway, so 89% of hiring managers right now are saying that after they've hired and got the person in the seat, they realize that person wasn't a good fit because of lack of soft skills, their attitude, their personality, how they handle situation. So making a really simple, pre-screen type of disc assessment or skills assessment test that they can click on a link and they just answer the questions. They're easy questions. They're geared towards the exact field that you're looking to hire for, so that when you get the results, if they match what you need or not. And it just filters your candidates through the process so much like easier. It's just seamless.
Right? Because by making it easy for them to do it, they almost want to see what their result's going to be, right?
Oh,
They're almost doing it to see so what am I going to be, right? How am I going to come out of this? I mean, anytime I've done an assessment, I didn't do it because I wanted what somebody else would see. I wanted to see it myself. I wanted to know what it said about me, right?
stupid Facebook quizzes. I take those like crazy because I just want to see what unicorn type I would be or what car type I would be, because you just want to know. Like, it's because it's finding out about you. So the skills assessment, they're taking it because they want to find out more about them, but also they're doing it on their time.
Yeah.
That's the key. Is the candidate that you want has a job, and he's awesome at his job, and he's dedicated to his employer, and he isn't going to have time to jump on that call with you to answer a couple of questions for you to figure out if he has those soft skills that you need. But he does have time at night at 11 o'clock at night when he's chilling in bed before he goes to sleep, and fill out that assessment test and take a moment and give you that information. And that's the guy that you want, not the guy that's available 24/7. He's a job hopper, like Skip,
Right.
you know?
And by he, we mean everybody.
Yeah, sorry.
If I say it's wrong, she says it's okay. So with that, and she mentioned the DISC assessment, and what's the difference? Well, with the DISC assessment, you're able to see what the personality is, right? Are they driven? Are they an influencer? Are they a steady relator? Are they a cautious thinker? Right? What is going to be the best fit in those roles for your business? Yeah, and it identifies if they are going to be the right personality fit and if their values align with your values. Because we hear that again and again, like we're looking for people like today. Most people aren't looking for people with 10 years experience. If they find them, great. Those are the unicorns that we talk about, but they're hiring for attitude and aptitude. Well, how are you going to know if they got the right attitude and the right aptitude if you don't have them fill out an assessment? You can't tell all of that by a pre-screening call. You can ask some questions and record what their answers are, but with an assessment, it's putting some psychology behind it. There's psychology in the way the assessment is created in order to give you a pretty good feel for if this person has the right motivation, if they have the right values that are going to map over and match to your company. That's the first step, right? Application, then you get the interview. I mean, the assessments. Next, you want to see how this person really communicates, because in today's day and age, I guess that would be today's day and age, is a technician has to not only be able to diagnose and repair, they also have to be able to sell the homeowner on the best solution for their situation. That doesn't mean selling something they don't need. I don't mean that, but there are options that could basically, they could just do a patch, they could do a really good fix, or they could do a replacement. They've got to be able to educate that homeowner on why they need to take the step or make the investment in the solution that they have for them. And you don't get the old rough and tough service tech from 20 years ago doing that, right? You got to have somebody can not only put that all together, but also connect with the homeowner. Asking them the questions like, how long are you on the home? How long are you planning on staying here? So what do you use your air conditioner for most? Right? I mean, it seems kind of like weird, but it's those questions that really resonate. And you got to have someone that not only can do that, but someone who embraces doing that, embraces taking that step in order to make that homeowner feel comfortable whenever they make that decision. It increases your revenues and it increases the R&R, increases your revenues and increases your reviews. And the reviews mean good reviews, because not only have they spent more, got a better solution, but they're happier. So how do you go about figuring that out? What would you do with that? How would you do that, Deidre?
100% video interview. Hands down. I
got to get on a video in it. I got to.
It's so easy. You click on a link, you put in your name, your email, your phone number, and you hit start. It's the same call that you're doing as a pre-screen, but in the end result, you not only get to hear what the candidate says about the questions that you're going to ask them on the phone anyway, but you also get to see them. That's key. I mean, your people are client facing. They're in front of your customers. You don't want someone going out in front of your customers that isn't the right fit for your culture and your company. Now, you may say, well, I don't care if he's tatted from top to bottom and he has a shaved head and, is whatever, that's fine. I'm great. But now you can see that he matches or she matches your environment and the position that you're hiring for. It's about being able to see how they communicate, how they take it seriously. I tell people all the time, one of the questions that we ask, just so you know, Jody, what we do on that part, we have a tendency, we ask a question: what's your biggest success, what's your biggest failure, and what's your greatest achievement so far? That seems like such a duh question, and you're like, oh, they're going to give you the best answers in the world. No, these guys are looking at themselves, or guys and girls, these people are looking at themselves when they're videotaping, and they're so honest. They're so honest. I could not tell you how many of these videos I've watched where grown people are telling me that their greatest achievement in life, I'm talking about 40s, late 30s, greatest achievement in life was they graduated high school. So you did nothing after that. You didn't buy a car. You didn't have a family. You didn't get married. You didn't nothing. They're not motivated. Do you want that to be the guy that you hire for a sales and service technician? No, because he's not going to be motivated to bring money into your company. So being able to hear what they're saying, understand their mindset. So you're not just asking the question. Another question that we will throw on the video interview process, and people ask me all the time, like, why do you do that in the video interview? Is, do you have reliable transportation? So a lot of companies have trucks for their technicians, but you have sales people, you have different companies that they don't have that, and they have to drive their own. Do you know how many times people will say on an application, yes, but their reliable transportation is Aunt Sue's going to bring me, but except for on Wednesdays because she can't pick me up because she has bingo that night, whatever it might be. So by asking certain questions and strategically placing them in the right place on your video interview, you have Johnny who's answering the questions like, yeah, I have a 96 Jeep Cherokee. It does this, all that kind of stuff. They tell you more about it. So it's a better way to spend 5 minutes watching really quickly the candidate and their overall. Another question we ask is, what's your experience? When you ask on an application to or a resume is going to tell you that they have experience working for that company, and they may blurt out a couple of things that they did but you don't know, is it residential? Is it commercial? Were they actually just a maintenance guy for that company? Were they the gopher for that company? When you ask someone on a video interview, they're 100 times more likely to tell you everything that they did. They'll rattle off and talk about it for as long as we give them time to. It's a 2-minute cutoff window, but it gives them an opportunity to really communicate that they're not going to get down on paper. You're not going to see any of that information written out anywhere.
So think about this. It's a 2-minute cutoff, right? So
yeah.
If you're an employer, to see exactly what this person looks like, how they communicate, and if it's somebody you want to take the time to have an interview with, you're talking about a 10-minute investment if you watch all of it. A lot of them, like I said, you shouldn't judge a book by its cover, but sometimes you kind of can. Like, for instance, if you were hiring brand new apprentices, you would not hire me if I did a video interview, because I look like I'm better suited to be a shopping mall Santa Claus rather than be an apprentice HVAC technician, right? So there's some other things you can look at that. Plus, I mean, come on, we've seen this, DJ. Some people don't bother to get out of bed. They lay in bed. Yeah, I've got this, I've done this, I've done that, or they're driving while they're doing it, which shows that their safety probably isn't on par with where it probably needs to be. Or my favorite one, and I've told this 100 times, I got a Slack message from Vanessa, and it's like, go to this link and watch till 1 minute and 21 seconds. And it's a guy sitting in a company van with a logoed shirt on, much like this is, and he's talking, he's answering the question, what's your favorite sport? What drives you to win? I like the Raiders, and I've done this or that. And then the camera rolls over because it flips over to the next question automatically. And it counts down 3, 2, 1, and then it starts recording. Well, evidently, he didn't see the 3, 2, 1. He says that he still has the camera, I guess, on a holder there in the vehicle. He's tapping around. I'm like, what the hell is he doing? Why am I watching this guy? He's looking around. And then after 1 minute and 21 seconds, he picks up a one-hitter pipe. And he's like, I remember my first time too, but it just wasn't on video. And here's the guy's like in a logo shirt on in a company vehicle doing a one-hitter pipe. It's like, well, maybe he had a prescription for it, or, Jack Daniel. I mean, marijuana is illegal in Las Vegas. So what's your point? Well, so is Jack Daniels, but you don't do shots when you're doing a job interview. So you're able to see those kind of things, and see if they are somebody that you want to take the time. So now you've got an application, you've got assessments, and you've got a video interview. So that filtering process is going to cut way down on you spending or wasting any time on talking to the wrong person.
And the best part of that is you, the employee, the client, the hiring manager, the recruiter, whomever within your company, they've yet to do anything. Nothing. Like at this point, all you're doing up to this point is everything is automated. Everything is links. Everything is up to the candidate to perform their part in showing that they're interested in your company. You have to market you. You have to set up a good offer. You have to be a good company to come to. You have to do that part. The rest of it, the candidate needs to come to you. The candidate needs to fill this out. Now, the thing about it is that if a candidate does that, you got to be Johnny on the spot, because it is such the recruitment world right now is a different ballpark. Guys will literally get a call for an interview, and while you're on the call scheduling the interview, they're getting another call from another company, and they've only put applications out to 3. I mean, it's just people are fast, and you have to be faster. That's the only thing. So you get all your information, you've kept engagement with them, you've talked to them, they're getting all this stuff to you. You're not having to chase them for it. They're automatically sending it to you. They're like, hey, look at me. That's the key.
If you have automations set up.
Oh,
And then
exactly.
don't just send them, feel like, well, I get these, a lot of what we do, not everything, but a lot of what we do is through social media, right? And so people are like, well, yeah, we tried that, but it didn't work. Well, it only always works, okay? What didn't work was what you were asking them to do on the other side of filling out their information, or you were trying to communicate with them through Messenger, which after 2 weeks, you can't talk to them anymore anyway. But you got to nurture these people. You got to nurturing them with a text message, with an email on an almost daily basis, encouraging them to take the next step. Remember, I talked about pull marketing, not push marketing. So we want to pull them. It's like, hey, Deidre, we've got you. We're at the first part of your information. We're so excited that you've had an interest here. The next step in the process is this, with some emojis, with a call to action to go take that step. And make it fun. I mean, like for instance, in the video interview, Deidre put this together. It's like the text message is like, lights, camera, action, director's on set, ready for your big video debut. Little things like that it can like look at it and it's different. It's not, hey, here's the thing, go fill it out, which is what most of the time happens, if that even happens at all. So by putting automations in place makes that work so much easier. Because the main thing that we do is not only are we really, really good at getting leads, at creating the ads, at writing job descriptions that get people's attention and doing things, whether it's on social media or Indeed or Simply Out or ZipRecruiter, making it stand out and look different than what everyone else does so that we get that person's interest coming in the door. But then it's no matter who you work with, no matter what you do, it's the speed and automation of moving them through the process to get to the next step. And as soon as they complete one, instantly giving them the next one. Congratulating them on taking that step, completing the step, and this is the next step. And then that way they know what's happening. Most of the time, most companies out there think that they do an excellent job communicating the hiring process to candidates. I think it's like 87% of companies feel they do a good job, and it's less than 40% of candidates feel that the company does a good job doing that. And the other part of it is, yes, phone calls are great, emails are great, but people are communicating on their phone. But the thing is, it's not phone calls, it's texting, right? Over 80% of all communications today are via text message. And that's how candidates would rather receive information. They would rather receive it via text. And the cool thing about that is you can ignore it, but you can't not see it. It's going to pop up on the front of your phone. I mean, since we've been on this call, I've got all kinds of things popping up on my phone. I have to see it. I can ignore it. I can swipe and not go in and look at it, but I can't not see that. And so that helps move that through the process and communicating with them as quickly as possible. They say, I think 79% of applicants say that the stress of not hearing back from a job interview is more stressful than not hearing back after a first date. That's I mean, it's like, and it's so easy to let them know. And if they're not a fit, that's all you got to say. thank you very much, but at this time it's not going to be a fit. You don't have to tell them why. It's just, it's not a fit.
Yeah.
Make sure you do that as quickly as possible so they're not hanging on waiting, because you could be keeping them from actually going and finding gainful employment somewhere where they might be a fit. So let them know as quick as possible. Gets them off your radar, and it makes it so that it frees them up to go whatever else they're going to do.
I think just to follow with what you're saying, communication is huge, but not just communicating with them, and you want to make sure that you're communicating and it's flashy and it's, something that's engaging, but also what's next. Like, if you're not communicating every step of the process, or how many steps to the process there are, or what to expect after you do this one, then I'm going to send you that. Expressing what the process looks like to your candidate means the candidate's going to stay engaged with you. The most frustrating thing in the world for me is when I'm doing one of those online tests and it's like you're on question 63 and you're like, how many more questions are there? Like, and then you want to give up, but then part of you doesn't want to give up yet because you're like, I might be done. That's the same thing for your candidate in the hiring process. It's like, well, how many stages are there going to be? What's it look like? How do I go through all this? What's next? So by communicating, hey, I need you to fill out the application. As soon as you get that done, that's step 1 of 4. I will let you know. I'll send you the next step. And then, hey, you just finished step 2. We're almost there. Little bit finish this, and then we'll do the video interview. Letting them know what's coming is crucial in order to keep them engaged, or else they're just going to wonder what's going on and they get frustrated and then they go somewhere else.
Yeah, because another very simple, easy thing to do is you always, when you're communicating with them, communicate to them as a person from a person. That gets so much more engagement. So it'd be like, hey, Deidre, this is Jody with Rapid Hire, blah, 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 right? That way I'm talking to Deidre and she knows that I'm Jody, and it personalizes it. Now, in our system, we say, hi, Michael, this is Allie for XYZ company. We got your information from our recruiting campaign. I call it Allie because it's artificial intelligence, and I think it's funny. And we don't have anybody in our company named Allie, and so if a company does have someone named Allie, we switch it like to Amy or something. But that way, it's not, they're not talking to any individual at the company, but they feel like they are. And if they say they talked to Allie, we know they didn't, because Allie's not a real person. But it's still, even though it's not a person, it personalizes it. I mean, come on. Why do you have a little device in your house called Alexa, right? Because if something has a name, it personalizes it. And you can have fun with the communications. People remember things that are different. You remember things in your life that are different. Like, one of the things we do is, if we send them a picture of something with an explanation behind it, that's different than what everyone else does. So you want to stand out, be different, but you don't have to be completely edgy. But you can have fun with your communication. If that's your culture, if you're a stiff, stodgy culture, then don't do that. But if you're a great company with a great culture and you like having fun and doing employee events and making people happy, express that through your messaging. Express that through your ads. Make sure that they see, because nobody wants to come to work for a stiff, stodgy company. They want to go to work for somewhere where they can have fun, where they can do a great job, and where they can make good money, and where they can have a career. Because one of the things we didn't touch on, we're going to do that, we're going to go into more detail on that on another podcast, is stop thinking of it and stop doing it. Stop advertising it as a job. Because if you advertise it as a job, you're going to get people to look at it as a job, and there's steps you can take to make them look at it as a career. Because you don't want to hire somebody to stay with you for 2 years and leave because they left a job. The job is easy to replace. A career is something you stick with. So we're going to go into how to make sure that you're positioning things as a career. And there's even things that you can do on a graphic on an ad to position it as a career rather than a job. And we'll go into a lot more detail on that. But whenever it comes to this, keeping in mind that it is marketing. You have a marketing agency, you're marketing for employees. Part of that, and I tell people all the time, is your brand and what people are saying about you online. Because people will go and look at your reviews. They go and look at what your website looks like. They look at what your trucks look like. They look at, hopefully you've got great branding, you've got great vehicle wraps. that helps in the process so greatly, because people want to work for companies that look like they have their act together, quite frankly. And so that part of it is you are marketing to for employees the same thing that you're marketing for customers. So keeping that in mind and having a great presence out there people ask me all the time, do I have to have this humongous social media presence? The answer is no. You just have to have one. And we can work with that, or anybody you work with can work with that. But you have to have something that's going to get their attention. It's going to be consistent, and it's going to be something that they go, wow, I really want to explore this further. Because that's what you're doing, right? You're attracting them. You're attracting them to your company from that standpoint. So with that, the latest tech, the latest processes, people all the time is like, do I really need to have all these things? Look, I don't care what industry you're in or what home service business you're in. You're using different tools, different processes, different systems today than you were 10 years ago. 10 years ago, people weren't riding around with an iPad with all their paperwork on an iPad in their van.
Yeah.
All the communication, they weren't routing themselves to the next job through a map on their phone on their truck. They weren't seeing that there was a breakdown on the road that they were going to take, so they can go another route to speed them up getting to the next job. Whenever it comes to the types of components that go into the system, there's sensors, there's things. I mean, a garage door. 10 years ago, you didn't have an opener on your phone. Now you can have an opener on your phone. It's all changing. The tech is improving. Why isn't it that should be the same thing when it comes to your recruiting? The old days of picking up the phone and calling, or having a stack of papers and calling from your cell phone and then sending an email from your email account and then texting them from somewhere else and giving them a number to call into the main office. All of this is scattered. It's all these different places, and you got to keep track of all those things. It's great to have a system where everything is in one place. And there's a lot of different things out there that you can use to do that, but that's the technological aspect of streamlining the process, because everything we do is streamlining the process, reducing friction in the hiring funnel, helping people not only move through quicker, but doing so in a way that makes them encouraged about what they're doing and happy to take that next step, and simplifying your life so that when you do have to go back and look at something, it's all in one place. It doesn't matter. Every text message, every phone call is recorded. Every email is in that same spot, so that all of that information is there. Just like a lot of you use Service Titan, or you may use House Call Pro. Were you using it 10 years ago? Most probably weren't, but you are now. And it's one of those things that, if you're using it for that, why not use it for the other processes in your company as well?
I say all the time, if you're doing it for your customers, you should be doing it for your candidates. Right. I mean, they're your money makers. Without your customers, you don't have the job, you don't have the money. But without your employees, without your staff, they're not doing the jobs. So you're not going to bring in the money either. So why would you not invest in your candidates the same way that you would invest in your employees?
Yeah.
I mean, sorry.
I'm saying, no, sorry, I cut you off. The other thing is, we're not going to dig deeper into why you position as a career rather than a job. But one of the questions that I ask is always ask people about their pay package, right? I call it a pay package because it is not just your hourly pay. We're going to go into framing of pay, how you frame your pay. Yeah. We're going to look at the framing of how you use the pay to position it as a career instead of a job. Not only that, benefits, right? Come on. Today, just about everybody has pretty good pay. They usually have health benefits at a minimum. A lot have 401k. But there's other things that we're going to explore and share that are benefits that could be the difference maker between someone going with you and deciding to go with your competition. There's those things that we're going to share, how to dig into that. But on this one, we just wanted to go through the things that you could get rid of doing. Get rid of looking at resumes. You can get rid of taking your time doing pre-screening calls, because not only is it time consuming to do the call, it's time consuming to get the person on the phone. It's time consuming. Everything about it is just a time you're running in circles, right? You're chasing. And that's the other thing, is ending the chase of chasing unqualified candidates, or candidates, even if they have the qualifications, that you wouldn't want to talk to anyway. Sometimes our clients kind of frame what we do better than what we do ourselves. And so one of our great clients is up in Canada. It's Miles Siderak with Naiad Irrigation. He's like, He said, whenever I'm all over the place out on online, it's like I'm at a job fair where there's a bunch of different companies doing exactly the same thing I do. Whenever I take the time to differentiate myself, and whether it's with the job description or with the graphics on the ad, it's like, yeah, I'm at a job fair, but I've got the best booth there. Or sometimes I'm the only booth. And so not only that, but with all of the assessments and the video interview, it's like I'm at a job fair where I not only have the best booth, I'm the only booth, and I get to see how the people look like and see what their qualifications are as they're walking up to the booth. And I can hit eject and not even ever have to talk to them. That's what this does for me. It
Wow.
allows it so that I only have to talk to the people that are coming up, walking up to my booth that I know have the right attitude, that have the right aptitude, and I feel comfortable having them out in the community representing my brand. I was like, damn, that's better than what I've ever said. So,
I mean, I haven't heard it put that way, but that's pretty
yeah,
awesome. I love that.
yeah. So it's that, from that standpoint, that's the thing that different makes you different, right? The different is the thing that is memorable. So, do you have any final thoughts on what we talked about, Deidre?
No, I think we've pretty much covered pretty well, how to get rid of the resumes, the pre-screen calls, and the chase. I know we have a lot of future things coming up. I can't wait to share some things that have worked for us. So just a little snippet of what's to come. So we do a thing, it's a video drop in our automations. One of our video drops, we did this super professional cut video where we did a voice, and it's like, hey, da, da, da. Do you know that the one that performs the best, we've had a 42% increase in our conversion rates by switching it over to a video that we did on our iPhone. So it's like the little tricks and tips that you can do to increase the engagement that you're having with your candidate flow, that it isn't going to cost you an arm and a leg to figure out how to do these things, and what are those things that are going to increase and get you that A player. So I can't wait to share more.
And if you ever in a position where you need to have help with your recruiting, you can just go to rapidhirepro.com. There's a little green button up at the top, and it says schedule a call, and that call is going to be with me. Right. And I'm going to go through, I'm going to understand a little bit about your company, and I'm going to share recommendations with you that you can take and implement yourself if you choose to. And if you want us to help you, great. If not, hopefully we've brought value to you. And that's the whole purpose of everything we're doing, is helping companies succeed and increase the bottom line for their company and make their employees happier and more profitable. So with that, thank you very much for taking the time to be on here with us today. We look forward to doing this. This is our inaugural podcast. I think we did pretty good.
We did. I think we did all right.
We did it, and we'll see everybody next time. Take care, everybody.
Bye.